Why do you need this massive amount of information? Who are you defending yourselves against or going to? What the heck is going on here? September 2012, as much as they don't want us to have AR-15 assault rifles, the Department of Homeland Security bought 7,000 fully automatic AR-15s for personal defense. 7,000. They can have them, but we can't. Now, I don't have an AR-15. Actually, I have an AK, but which somebody gave me when I did a training course. So, but they don't want us to have them, but they'll buy 7,000, and it's okay for them. And I think we know the double-sided hypocrisy of that one. Sir?
I think those also came with silencers.
Oh, they did. They did. They came with silencers? Wouldn't surprise me. I didn't see that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Thanks. They bought 10 million more rounds in February of 2013, 40 caliber, 10 million of them, 9mm. Once again, hollow point ammunition. Remember hollow point because it's important. 2,500 fully armored fighting vehicles, which they use in Iraq. Here's one of them. They got DHS police rescue logos on the side. And there are DHS bulletins coming out, I have seen them with my own eyes, warning of extremists in the United States. Evangelical extremists, some patriotic extremist groups, and extremist Christian groups. We'll just let that hang a couple seconds. Okay? Now, the thing about hollow point ammunition, I trained tactical firearms training all over the world. And we never used hollow point ammunition in our training. No one did. The SEALs didn't do it. We didn't do it. Delta Force didn't do it. No one did. You know why? Hollow point is incredibly expensive. And a lot of times we had to go by NATO standards and use NATO-approved ammunition. They do not approve hollow point. Okay? And you do not use hollow point for training purposes, which is one of the things Napolitano said. So it's not for training. All right, if it's not for training, what the heck is it for? Are they telling us? Nah. We don't have the need to know or the access to know that information.
Do our supposed leaders in the Senate and Congress, do they have access to this information?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Why are they not telling us?
Man, that's probably one of the best questions I have heard. They know about this? Yes, of course they do. Why aren't they doing anything about it? We have in Washington, D.C. a political class of neo-statists. These are not representatives of the people. Now, to come out and talk about this and the Islamic penetration of the Department of State in the White House, which I will prove, they don't talk about that either. I think we had somebody that didn't attend this meeting because he didn't want to be associated with me exposing the Muslim Brotherhood. But for them to bring this stuff out will cost them an election. Not only will it cost them an election, it will cost them the ire of the higher classes of the GOP party in Washington. A classic example of that is Congressman Frank Wolf, who I have met with, who is a true patriot, awesome guy, for Benghazi has proposed H.R. 36, an independent investigation into Benghazi. John Boehner is blocking that investigation. Why? Why does Speaker Boehner not want to know the truth of what happened in Benghazi, which is very serious? Why? Is it complicity? Or is it a fear of losing power? Or is it a fear of losing the immense power that the folks at the top have? Why? When I spoke to the Citizens Commission on Benghazi, that's what I said. Mr. Boehner, why? Why are you doing this? Give us a reason. Well, he's not answering that question. Yeah, ma'am.
Well, but if you're doing it because of the fear of power, losing power, or whatever, you are in fact complicit.
Correct. Exactly.
You've been extorted.
She mentioned if you're not doing anything about it, you're in fact complicit, and that is true. Yeah, thank you. That is very true. That's what's happening. That's why they're not saying anything. As I mentioned, they're a political class that is above us. They have perks above us. They're exempted from Obamacare. They have all kinds of privileges. They vote themselves pay raises when we're just scraping by and on and on and on and on and on. Many of them are not representing the U.S. people. John McCain, and I'm not pounding on John McCain, and I'm not giving anything political here, but just came out and said that the Tea Party hobbits need to stop and return back to the center of the earth, to Mordor, where they belong, quoting a Wall Street Journal article. Excuse me? Political class. Why would he come out and say that? When the Tea Party, in my view, and I've been to many of them, are one of the core hopes we have in this country of freedom. Frankly, without the Tea Party, we would still be in the mess that we were in 15 years ago. And yet these guys are fighting against the Tea Party? That's what I'm talking about. The political class, the high power and the GOP have been attacking not the Democrats.
We're the extremists.
We're the extremists, yeah. The GOP, the political class in the GOP, I'm not down on the GOP, I love the GOP, but I'm talking about the political class. They're not attacking the Democrats, they're attacking their own. They're attacking the Tea Party members, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Mike Lee. And in my opinion, these guys are heroes. They've got the guts to stand up and decry this stuff. They have the courage because they are constitutionalists, despite the pressure from Boehner and others to shut up. They're coming out and saying it anyway. And because the political class thinks that, no, we don't want to say that, we'll lose the next election, so we want to preserve the GOP party, so we're not going to say that. Well, Ronald Reagan proved that what Ted Cruz did in the short run may be called ineffective, but in the long run, mark my words, it's going to be powerful for Ted Cruz and the Tea Party and the political parties that back that up. Mark my words. The risk he took and the heat he took from his own party, because he spoke truth, is going to come out later, put him on the top, and all these political career politicians, they're going to wind up on the bottom. Mark my words. Because truth will stand no matter what, and it's long term. Police trend. Now, this just happened in August of 2013. Most people probably don't know about this case because even the national media, and that's a whole nother lecture, the national media would not report on it. The home of former Washington Times reporter Audrey Hudson was raided by personnel from the Department of Homeland Security and the Maryland State Police. DHS is trying, and I'm a former police officer, DHS is trying to hook into local police. They're giving them military armed vehicles, AR-15-7 rifles, and all this military equipment, and they're wooing them in to becoming more militaristic than police departments should be or historically have. Maryland State Police went right in with DHS. Armored teams surrounded this reporter's house and conducted a raid. Their reason? Officials used the excuse that Hudson's husband had purchased a legal potato launcher. That was the reason. Now, if anybody doesn't know what a potato launcher is, it's the cylinder you put on the end of a pistol and you stick a spud in there and then you shoot it and it splatters against the wall. They're legal. They're not controlled by any gun regulations or anything. It's almost a toy. But that was their excuse for going in there. But while they were in there, they confiscated Hudson's files, who was not the subject of the investigation. They confiscated her files, removed them, took them, still have them. The files had the names and information from sources from her reporting on a government scandal involving the DEA. Took her files, confiscated her files without a warrant on her for a potato launcher. Now, we know now that the DEA has been receiving information from the NSA. The NSA has been passing information to the DEA, who has been passing it to the state troopers, who have been using that information to pull people over on the highways if there's suspicion of drugs in their car. So NSA, with a foreign mission, is providing this information to the DEA and eventually down to law enforcement. The National Security Agency is funneling this down to police.
Sir.
Just a point of interest, the DEA administrator is a former Maryland State Police patrol officer, her only law enforcement experience she's ever had, and she is the administrator of DEA.
That doesn't surprise. Yeah, I think we're seeing this with many things in Washington. When you take somebody that is incompetent regarding that particular type of job and you put them in a management position, I saw this with the CIA many times, you're asking for trouble and you're going to get it. Yeah, sir.
Kevin, does DHS actually have police power by statute? I was under the impression they're an umbrella group, they have ICE, they have...
Yeah, that's correct.
But now, I've seen cars that say DHS police.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
They're not customs agents.
Not supposed to.
They have their own quote-unquote police who are not either ICE or these different agencies that are under their umbrella.
Right. And well, they purchased this ammunition, the previous slide, and the vehicles for DHS, not for law enforcement. Why? There are proposals for a standing civilian army under DHS and some other things. But why? This stuff went to the Department of Homeland Security, not local law enforcement. So, and we all know that the president can change things with a sweep of a pen. Sir.
when Obama was campaigning in '08, he said he wanted an army, as civilian army, just as well trained as the
That's
US
true.
military.
The statement was when Obama was campaigning, he wanted a standing civilian army that was as capable as the military. His civilian army. Yes.
So is it fair to say that the President Obama is at the base of all of this?
Absolutely. I'll show you slides later of the lies that he has told. And I'm not calling him out politically. I'm showing you where he has lied in public, and it's on record. But there are things that he has instituted and ordered that he claims he doesn't know about. Okay? Okay. All right. You need to know about that story. This is the encouraging slide. Since passage of the Patriot Act, and a lot of these are sheriff's departments. Do we have any sheriffs in here? Usually we do. God bless them, because they're the last constitutional set of law enforcement that we've got. So support your local sheriff, honestly. And make sure that sheriff is a constitutional before you vote him in. Okay, he or she. Since passage of the Patriot Act, 234 cities, towns, and counties, a lot of sheriff's departments, have passed resolutions, ballot initiatives, or local ordinances prohibiting their local police from complying with the Patriot Act. Go American people. You know, go freedom. See, they're going to get away with this unless we do this kind of thing. And that's what the Tea Party, and there's a few heroes in here that I know, Linda, for example, that are doing this. They're like, oh, no, you don't, not to my Constitution. And that's what we have to do. There is a secret Patriot Act. I mentioned this earlier. I want to get through this before we get to the break. The government has a secret Patriot Act beyond what is revealed to the public that they are using. The NSA program falls into that. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act Court, FISA Court, falls into that. And they have an interpretation of the Patriot Act based on terrorism that they're using to spy on U.S. citizens that is secret. It's not open source like the original Patriot Act goes. I got to tell you, you guys and ladies, if coming from where I come from, if they say something is secret outside of protecting foreign assets and our military and operations, outside of that, if the government says something is secret and Congress can't see it, especially, they're up to no good. They are up to no good. John F. Kennedy says, a free society, the idea of secrecy is repugnant to any free society. A famous judge said, one of the greatest threats to democracy is darkness or things being hidden in secret. Now, I am, based on what I've seen, fully convinced of that. We need to demand, what do you mean it's secret? Prove to us that it's secret. Prove it. Okay. Under the, it's a totally different Patriot Act. If you will face criminal prosecution if you don't comply. I've talked about that if you're a business owner, etc. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. We have a member in Georgia that are on that committee. They refuse to answer questions during hearings regarding what this secret Patriot Act is. They refuse to answer what they're doing. Now, I would find members of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence who are Republicans, and I know one, and I would hold them accountable.
He's retiring.
I know he is, because he got a couple letters from me. and what he sent back was, you know, well, I won't go there. But, okay, executive branch, the CIA uses the state secrets privilege. It's an unfettered privilege to the United States government. I know these people, U.S., and this is providential, I got to tell you guys. I met the plaintiffs in U.S. versus Reynolds, and when you read in the book, I go into that in great detail. Plane went down, 3 engineers were killed through gross negligence. The government claimed it was classified to cover up the crash of the aircraft. The widows went before the Supreme Court and said, we demand to tell you what happened to our husbands. Oh, no. It's classified. No, it's not. It's not classified. So they said, well, we'll create this thing called the state secrets privilege. Now you have no access. We shut the case down. Judges in the United States, because the balance of powers is out of whack, the judges, well, we're not really intelligence people, so we'll uphold this. They created the state secrets privilege. These widows never knew what happened to their husbands. Ironically, I have a copy of the first page of this in the book. They found the accident report on the internet about 10 years later. And you can go out there right now and download that thing. This supposedly super secret document that they created the state secrets privilege with.